Good afternoon, everyone. This is Linda with Linda Sue Plants for You. What you're looking at right now is a beautiful purple velvet plant. And I have had some requests to do some cuttings from this. And because she's about ready to do cuttings, I thought I would record them. And this part of the video is going to be rather short because it's not going to take long to do. And then I'm going to pause my camera and I'm going to do some repotting of my mecans and my couple of philodendrons. I have a few things here that I want to get into hanging baskets, and I will be doing that immediately following this. So stay with me here. I'm going to set you down now so that you can see what I'm struggling with is being able to show you the whole thing of what I'm doing without having a separate camera person here to move my camera with my hands. And it's so frustrating because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing where I'm cutting it off in addition to where I'm putting it. So I apologize if we don't get all of that in the frame. But I'm going to do my best. So bear with me. I think I have the camera set where it needs to be. I'm hoping. And let's get started. Alright. Well, first of all, I did already disinfect my scissors. As I said in yesterday's video, I've got quite a few of these around the house, and sometimes I forget to put it back in my plant caddy and hubby uses it on something, so I always make sure that I do. I just take a cotton swab with a little rubbing alcohol and clean it up. So, but this is what we're going to do here. And it's the same as the video I did yesterday on the coleus. The key to these, and it also helps to strengthen the bottom of the vine of the plant. And I don't think I said that yesterday in my coleus, but for those of you that watch all my videos, you'll remember that I did that, and I did not say that. But it's the same thing with the coleus. The more you cut them back, the stronger they get down at the bottom, and then they can hold themselves up a bit better, and they're just healthier all the way around. I know that people do struggle with this, and I'm not sure why. I keep mine in an east window. That seems to be its favorite spot. And it's in my laundry area, laundry room. And one of the things, and it's right up against the window, folks, and it gets the northeast wind in the wintertime, and it doesn't seem to affect it any. So that's the temperature as far as where I have it. And then watering, I tend to wait until, and I'm still not sure how to explain or describe this to my viewers. All I can say is, if you look at your plants at least a couple times a week, if not every day, and most of us plant lovers look at them pretty much every day, you'll get to know how your plant looks when it's healthy. And you'll get to know when it starts to droop. Now, don't confuse this with drooping. On this plant, these leaves just do this. Now, they will stand up straighter on some plants and in some areas. In fact, on this one, there's a few where they do. But this does not necessarily mean that it needs water, okay? It's thick. I can feel it. It's thick, it's healthy, and it's strong. And this particular plant, well, here I can show you. Here's a leaf that fell off. And although it's still very purple, it's flimsy looking, and it lost its sheen on the top. And even though these leaves are fuzzy, they still have a shine to them underneath that fuzz. So, as far as watering, what I do with this plant is I wait until it's almost completely dry. And I say almost because I have gone in with a moisture meter and it showed up at, you know, 4, 3.5, 4, and that's not completely dry. However, if I feel it with my finger and I go all the way down, you know, down as far down as I can get with my finger, sometimes when I pull it up I have a little bit of dirt on it, but that's not enough for this plant. This plant likes to get dry in between waterings, but then when you water it, give it a good drink. Not a soaking. It shouldn't be where it's, you know, draining out the bottom of the pot. You don't need to do that. But want to make sure that you've touched all of the stems that are in the water. You want to make sure, because if you just use a watering can and for instance you just go through here and you put a little here and a little there and a little there, you may not be getting all of the roots down there. So, and here's a cutting that failed on me. For those of you that think I never have a bad plant, here's one of them. So, and I don't worry about it. I just don't worry about it. I got enough here that it's going to grow beautifully, and I'll get more and more plants. It's going to get fuller and fuller. I've given a lot of this away already, and I'm going to probably continue to do that. And as my health improves, there may come a day when I'm able to mail cuttings to some of my viewers. I'm hoping that that's going to happen in the future. For right now, it's not feasible for me because I cannot drive, and that's due to I get severe dizziness. So I'm not able to get in a car and go anywhere. So I have to depend on other people to cart me around, and I've got enough things that I absolutely have to do, like doctor appointments and groceries and things like that. I don't want to bother my family to have them have to take me to the post office to mail plants, and I'm sure you guys understand that, and you'll forgive me for that. So, but like I said, if things continue to improve as they are right now, the day might come when I'm back in a vehicle and I'm up and running, and that would be great. So pray for that for me. All right. So one of the things with this plant, I would really like to leave this on here because it's sitting on a windowsill and I want this to all trail down. So this one I'm not going to touch today. I may change my mind on that. I'm not sure, because as it's trailing down, it's not going to get the light that the top of this gets. So I have to, if I'm going to do this, I got to keep a close eye on this. And one of the things that happens when this plant starts to decline is it loses its purple. So if I see these leaves starting to fade a little bit, I'm going to give it a good watering, let it sit overnight, and then I'm going to snip it and stick it back in the soil so it grows upright. So I may or may not be able to accomplish what I want to with that, but I'm gonna try it. So with the rest of these, as you may or may not be able to see here, is the top of this plant is, I've got about 6 inches to go. Let me see if I can lift the camera from where I am. You can see right here, I hope. It has this far to go before I have to worry about it. But I want these to get stronger, these branches here. So I am going to snip those back today. And we'll start with this one. She's already kind of wrapped herself around here, and that's a good thing because it's holding her up. And this is traditionally a hanging plant, so, or a ground cover, actually, if you want to be very politically correct. And if you notice, if I let this go, eventually it's going to hang down, right? And it would be beautiful if there was enough light on this side to support it. But honestly, I don't think there is. So we're just going to try it with this one first. And in the meantime, I'm going to cut this back. Now I'm going to do the same thing that I did with my coleus. I'm going to go where there is a leaf node. Now this one doesn't necessarily have 2 leaves coming out in one spot like the coleus. But, and hopefully you can see, there are tiny little shoots there that want to branch out. But I don't want that to happen, because very often I'll see these, that other people that have had these, and they don't understand why the top of their basket is getting thin and sparse. Well, that's because you're not cutting it back and giving that growth that's down here the strength to produce new growth. So I'm sure there's a more scientific way of explaining that, but I am not a scientist. I'm just a plain old regular person, so I'm just explaining it as best as I know how. So right here, oh, and the other thing is, on this plant, you don't want to take too long of a cutting, because it won't support it. Well, I shouldn't say it won't. You could get lucky and it might make it, but they root much faster if you take shorter cuttings. Okay, so I'm really tempted to go all the way back down here. In fact, that is what I'm going to do. And as you can see, there was another branch starting right here. A little branch. See that? Coming up separate from this one. So now this is going to branch out right here. And now I have this piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these leaves off. Now I'm breaking my own rule here, folks, only because this is not a real spindly plant. So normally what I would do at this point is I would take and make 2 cuttings out of this. But I'm going to try it with all these leaves on. Not all of them, but more than what I normally keep on. You want to get the ones off the bottom. And okay. Now that's way past my 2 to 5 leaf rule, but because this is such a sturdy vine, it's not a new vine, it's not flimsy, it's very sturdy, I think I'm going to be okay. And we've got a lot of nodes on here as well. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes going in the soil. So I think it's going to be okay to leave these other leaves on here. And all I do is I simply make a hole, and let me see where I want to put this. I think right in front here. So I'm going to turn it a little so I can see what I'm doing, and make a little space down there with my scissors again. And I'm going to stick this in there. It's almost all the way up to that top node. So there's 3 or 4 nodes that are actually in the soil. And because I just watered this yesterday, I'm not going to water this whole plant again. When I'm done, I'm only going to water where I put these cuttings, because I want them to be a little bit damp. Okay? And you want the cuttings to stay a little bit damp until they develop roots. Because if they start to develop roots and then they dry out, those fine roots will dry out and they won't come back. Alright, so we're going to do this again. This, can you see how tall it is? I'm going to cut this back. And remember, wherever you cut it, that's where it's going to branch out. So that's where it's going to get thick again. So I'm going to go way down on this one and cut right above a leaf. And look at the size of that cutting. Now with this one, I am going to make several cuttings, obviously, because I don't want to try and support this whole branch while it's trying to root. So I'm going to do this one, I think, in half. And again, I'm going to cut right above the leaf. And I'm going to cut off, in this case, I think just this leaf. I hate to cut these off because they're already forming new sprouts. So I think we're going to just chance it with this one. And this is going to be iffy because it's only got the one node. That's going to be a lot to expect to support all this growth. And remember, while it's trying to develop roots, it's got to also send the nutrients and oxygen and what have you to all of these leaves. So, I'm really tempted. I think you know what? Let's try it. Let's try it and see what happens. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to find a good spot to put it, and I think that's going to be right here, where my other cutting didn't make it so good. And I see I have another smaller one in here that didn't make it. So see, this is what happens. And it happens, folks. Trust me, I do have issues with plants just like everybody else. I very much welcome the wonderful comments I get from my plant friends, and they tell me how beautiful my plants are and how they don't have luck with them. But you know what? It's not. Don't feel bad about that. I encourage you to just keep going and doing what you're doing. Learn from your mistakes and carry on, because we all have plant problems. We've all killed them. If someone told me that they've never killed a plant, honestly, I wouldn't believe them. So it happens. All right, now I want to make sure that that's down in there. I'm just tapping it down enough to make sure that the soil is touching what I put down in the soil. You don't want to just press it around the top. You want to make sure it's in there firmly so it can absorb the water as it goes through. All right. So now we got this one. And, whoops, I got it upside down. Okay. Now, we're going to cut off, again, these bottom leaves. And that one, I'm going to go up a little bit higher. And now, as you can see, I've got 3 nodes here. So that's good. And we're going to get that down in the soil. Oh, and as I started to say before, when you put these in a hanging basket and they, and you're anxious to get a big, full, beautiful plant, and I truly understand that, but your first goal with this plant should be to get the bottom of it sturdy and strong, because then it will promote new growth. And once you have that, then you can start taking cuttings and fill that pot up. Just keep putting them back in there, and eventually you will have a beautiful big full plant. And as your plant gets older, maybe you get a bad winter and you didn't hardly get any sun, your plant didn't get enough light, so you've got some long leggy stems. Don't be afraid to cut those off and cut them down and repot them, because every time you put those back in the soil, they get bigger and stronger. Okay? All right, this one I think I'm going to leave. I don't like the way this one is in here. There we go. Okay. I think we're done here. I'm going to stick this through here. that will help support it. Basically why I have this in here. And we've got a couple on this end that I want to do the same thing. I'm going to just kind of gently wind it around. And be careful when you do this, folks, that you don't snap them off, because if you do it right after you water it, they're real easy to snap. They break easily. They get kind of brittle. Okay. And I'm going to cut this off. Not liking the way that looks. Alright, so I think we're good here. I'm going to water the cuttings that I just put in the soil. And again, I'm not going to water the whole thing because I just did that 2 days ago. Or yesterday. Sometime in the last 24 to 48 hours. I don't remember, honestly. But you only want to water now the ones that you just repotted. And I don't know if you can tell or if you can see this on camera, but these are already drooping, the ones that I cut. And one other thing before we go. These leaves might droop completely down and they might look shriveled. Don't pull them out. Sometimes they'll be like that for days. In fact, I think I've had them as long as a week or two, where every time I went and looked at it, the leaves were still, they were getting more and more shriveled. But just before I got to the point where I thought, oh, that cutting's not going to make it, all of a sudden, boom, she just livened right up like she heard me, and away she went. So, and it's the same thing with the coleus. They usually will look worse than they before they look better. So don't fret, don't worry, and don't throw it out. Don't give up on her. You'll know when it's time. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And you know what? I think this is already getting long, so I'm going to just make this a separate video from my potting video because I have quite a few things I want to talk about on those. So I am going to go edit this and get it up on YouTube so you can all see what's going on here, and we'll be back. Yeah, I think that's all. I think that's all you need to know. Well, if I missed anything or you have any questions, just put them in the comments section. And in the meantime, if you would like to see more of these type of videos, give me a thumbs up. And otherwise, I'll be back in a little while. You all have a great day. Bye now.